Good evening, everyone. Today, Bli Neder, we are going to begin learning from the Sefer Kadosh Zera Shimshon on Parashat Terumah, part 1 of 2 parts for this piece. The Midrash Rabbah says in Shmot Lamed Gimel Zayin, V'ikchu li Terumah. Kadosh Baruch Hu said they should take for me a Terumah, a donation. Hadau d'chtiv, that's what it says in the pasuk. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu was mitzaveh us the Torah. Darash Rab Simlai learned, Taryag mitzvot nitnu liYisrael, keminyan Torah. 613 mitzvot were given to Am Yisrael like the numerical value of the word Torah. Ushtayim mechanhen, but it's 2 off. Torah and Taryag is 2 off. Where's the other 2? Ela Anochi Hashem Elokecha, v'lo yeh lecha. That's the second one of the Aseret HaDibrot, the first 2 Dibrot, in other words. Mipi hagvura shma'anu. We heard it from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. V'tarya and 611 Amram Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu said, Kiminyan Torah, like the Gimatria of Torah. Taf is 400, Resh is 200, 600, Vav in the middle is 606, Hey 611. So Torah tziva lanu Moshe. 611 Moshe Rabbeinu taught us. But the first 2, Anochi and lo yeh lecha, Kadosh Baruch Hu taught us himself. Comes the Midrash and continues, Morasha. Al tikri Morasha ela Yerusha. Don't call it Morasha, but Yerusha, an inheritance. That it's an inheritance for Am Yisrael. Hi li Yisrael le'olam. It's inherited for Am Yisrael forever. This is the words of the Midrash. Lichora comes the rabbi and says we have to understand. What does the pasuk Torah tziva lanu Moshe have anything to do with v'ikchu li terumah? Why does the Midrash say v'ikchu li terumah hadau d'chsiv? That's what it says in the pasuk Torah tziva lanu Moshe. What does one have to do with the other? Question number 1. Question number 2. What's the inyan of Morasha and Yerusha suddenly? Why are we suddenly sticking in over here that Torah is a Yerusha for Am Yisrael, an inheritance? Of course, they got it. It's there. It's more than just an inheritance. What's going on? So to begin to understand this, we will begin with part 1 today, Bli Neder, and then continue tomorrow. Be'ezrat Hashem Bli Neder b'siyata Shmaya. Midrash Rabbah says in the pasuk in Shir HaShirim, Rabbah Aleph Daled, Ishakeini min shikot. What's going on? Ishakeini min shikot piu. Amar Rav Yehuda says, B'sha'ah sheshamu Yisrael Anochi Hashem Elokecha nitkat Talmud Torah belibam v'ayu lomdim v'lo ayu mishtachim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him himself, Kavyachol Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm God, the entire Torah was planted into their hearts, and they could learn and never forget what they learned. But since they came to Moshe Rabbeinu, you teach us the Torah and we'll listen because we can't hack it hearing it directly from Borei Olam. They went back to learning and then forgetting. Koach HaShechcha came back to the world. Now look in the Gemara, Masechet Eruvin, Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph, and you'll see an amazing thing. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Ilmalei lo nishtabru luchot harishonot, lo nishtakcha Torah miYisrael. If the first set of luchot would have not had to been broken by Moshe Rabbeinu when he came back down and they did the Chet HaEgel, Torah would have never been forgotten from Am Yisrael. Lichora, it's a stira. On one hand, we say that when they went to Moshe and they said, teach us the Torah, that's when they got the Koach HaShechcha back. On the other hand, it says, no, after 40 days, when Moshe Rabbeinu came back down with the Luchot and had to break them because of Chet HaEgel, then they had their Koach HaShechcha come. So which one is it? So, if you look in the Chidushim of the Zera Shimshon on Shir HaShirim, on the Pasuk Yishakeini min shikot piu Aleph, he answers over there that it doesn't contradict. First time around, Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, he took away the Koach HaShechcha, Ayu lomdim v'lo mishtachim. They would learn and never forget the learning. And then they lost the opportunity to learn without forgetting when Moshe Rabbeinu, they went to him and told him that he should teach them the Torah because they can't handle hearing it directly mipi hagvura. Came HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, maybe they're right, because you see that Chazal say, the neshamot went out, they needed Tchiyat HaMeitim almost. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe that when you bring down the first luchot, I'm going to give him the opportunity that the first luchot should be charut al libam. It should be engraved in their hearts. that once again it should come back a takana that they should learn and not forget it. But when Moshe Rabbeinu saw the Avera of Chet HaEgel, he had no choice. And at that point he had to go break the first luchot. And when he had to go break the first luchot, so then as a result of the breaking of the first luchot, Koach HaShikha came back to the world and stayed with us, and there's no takana ad yemot HaMashiach bimheira v'yameinu amen. One more Chazal, and tomorrow we'll put the rest of this puzzle together. Chazal say Bamidbar Abba Yud Bet Yud Dalet that the reason why the Mikdash is called a Mishkan, lefi she'aya lo lehitmashken al avonotehem shel Yisrael, because it was a mashkon, a collateral for the sins of Am Yisrael. And in the Midrash Rabbah in Shir HaShirim it says that at the beginning HaKadosh Baruch Hu said Anochi en lo yeh lecha. When Hashem said the first two dibrot, Ne'ekar Yetzirah melibam, the Yetzirah went and was uprooted from them. They had no Yetzirah. Not only they didn't forget the Torah, they didn't even have a Yetzirah to fight with. When they went to Moshe Rabbeinu and told them that he should teach them the Torah, Chazal Yetzirah limkomo, Yetzirah came back and had a power. But they had a takana for this. What was the takana? That if they would have not done a chet during the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, meaning the Chet HaEgel, and Moshe Rabbeinu would have not had to break the luchot, so then the luchot would have been the takana, that the Yetzirah would have been out of them. Why? Like it says, the Gemara brings down in Rovin Daf Mudal Aleph, Charut al haluchot, Cherut mi Yetzirah, they'd be free from the Yetzirah. But because they did the Chet HaEgel, the Yetzirah came back, and we have a takana ad Yemot HaMashiach, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to slaughter the Malach HaMavet, and which is the Yetzirah, and we'll be done with him for once and for all. Remember these pieces of information. Tomorrow we'll put together the piece of the puzzle and walk away with something brilliant. Good afternoon, everyone. A brief review of yesterday's shiur of Zera Shimshon in order to be able to finish the puzzle today. Yesterday we quoted a Midrash Rabbah that says V'ikchu li Terumah hadaru d'chsiv Torah tziva lanu Moshe. דרש רב סמלי תרי"ג מצוות ניתנו לישראל כמניין תורה ושתיים היכם הן אלא אנוכי ולא יהיה לך מפי הגבורה שמענו. We expanded on the explanation of this yesterday. We asked on this midrash two questions. Number one, what does v'ikchu li Terumah have to do with Torah tziva lanu Moshe? Number two, what is morasha, lashon Yerusha, what does that have to do with anything? We also brought another midrash that says Amar Rav Yehuda, at the time that they heard Anochi Hashem Elokecha, the Torah was established in their hearts in a way that they wouldn't forget it. Once they came and said they want Moshe Rabbeinu to teach it to them, they lost that power of memory and Koach HaShikha came back. Then we also learned the Gemara in Masechet Eruvin Daf Nundal Amud Aleph that said that Rabbi Elazar brings down that if the luchot would have not broken, then the luchot rishonot, the first luchot, then we would never forget Torah. But because Moshe Rabbeinu had to break the first luchot because of Chet HaEgel, so as a result we have Koach HaShikha in Torah. And we explained how that doesn't contradict the prior midrash. The other thing we brought down yesterday, Ba'arichut, was a midrash Rabbah about the Mishkan, that the Mishkan is a mashkon, a collateral for avonotehem shel Yisrael. And last but not least, we also quoted a midrash Rabbah in Shir HaShirim that says that if Am Yisrael would have had the luchot harishonot, and they would have not had to be broken, they would have cherut mi Yetzirah based on the Gemara in Eruvin Daf Nundalid Amud Aleph, and they wouldn't have a Yetzirah anymore. But now that we had lost the first luchot, there is a Yetzirah ad biat Mashiach tzidkenu b'meira. Based on this, now today, Be'ezrat Hashem, we want to come and put together a beautiful puzzle from the Rav HaKadosh Zera Shimshon, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zchuto Yagen Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, Amen. He says, now we can understand the biur of the Midrash. The Midrash is coming to say, why is the Nidava of the Mishkan called a Terumah? Why is this donation, the Nidava of the Mishkan, called a Terumah? Comes the Midrash and says, Tirutz, Hadahu dichtiv. That's what it says in the Pasuk. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. What does that mean? The word Terumah is the otiyot of Torah with a mem. So look in the Zohar Kadosh and Tikunei Zohar Tikun Yud Zayin, and you'll see an unbelievable thing. That the Torah was given in 40 days. That's Torah Mem. And why was the Torah given in 40 days? Because 611 mitzvot Moshe Rabbeinu taught us. And that caused that the Yetzer Hara came back to the world. And then they had 40 days to be mitaken that the Yetzer Hara came back to the world. Why? Because 40 days later, when they would get the Lichot Rishonot, they could have got rid of the Yetzer Hara one more time. But, lo aleinu, they were mekalkel and they did a Chet HaEgel. And now the Yetzer Hara stayed in this world. Because the Yetzer Hara stayed in this world, as a result of the Chet HaEgel, that they weren't mitaken with the Terumah, with the Torah Mem, the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the Luchot. That's why today we have Avonot. If we have Avonot, now we need a Mishkan that would be a collateral, mitmashken, for our Averot. Based on this, it's brilliant. V'chuli Terumah. What do we need the Terumah for? Hadau dichtiv. That's what it says in the Pasuk. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. That Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who taught us the Torah. And not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu only taught us the first two dibrot, and the rest he gave us through Moshe. As a result of Moshe Rabbeinu, the way we explained yesterday and in short today, giving us the rest of the Torah, we got back a Yetzer Hara. Along with that, we got back a Koach HaShechicha. They gave us the Terumah, the mem of the Terumah, to go and correct that, the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was coming down later on with the Luchot HaRishonot. But instead of correcting it, we ended up with a Chet HaEgel. As a result of that, we have Averot. Therefore, we need V'chuli Terumah, to build a Mishkan, that we should have a Mashkon on our Averot to protect us ad biad Goel Tzedek bimheira v'yameinu amen v'amen. But lemaaseh, what are we going to say now? Gavar aleinu koach Yetzer Hara. And the Shechicha of the Torah is also Gavar aleinu. And ad biad Goel lichora, these things are staying with us. So what can we do to be Goel ourselves from this situation? So on this, the Midrash ends off from Rav Simlai, that Al Tikri Morasha Ela Yerusha. What does that mean? That Chazal are teaching us that through the Limud Torah and through working hard and understanding the Torah and constantly reviewing it, that you shouldn't forget it. So the Torah is going to be Agunei Omatzle. It's going to protect us from the Chet. And how do we continue on for the future generations ad biad Goel? Through Yerusha, that you should leave over the Torah Yerusha for the next generation. That means that we should be melamed acherim, constantly be involved in teaching others Torah as well, because that'll be their protection as Jews for Am Yisrael ad biad Goel bimheira. Also, of course, we know, based on a Gemara in Eruvin Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, and Rashi over there, Dibur HaMatchil Degalu, that through the pilpul and torach, that means the great turmoil and depth of the learning of Torah and the halacha and their reasons, so the torach brings schar of Yerusha, that it stays with you, it sticks with you, or you work hard with, sticks with you. And then, based on that, which that's all, by the way, the Torah Shebal Peh, and based on that, you have a Yerusha that stays with you to protect you ad biad Goel, and also to prevent at least part of the Koach HaShechicha. By the way, look in the Sefer Megalei HaMukot, in Ofen Reish Mem Zayin, in Parashat Vayit Hanan, that he says that during the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was in Shamayim, they taught him Torah Shebal Peh, that there's 960 hours in 40 days, and that is the Gimatria of Matnitin, of Mishnah, Torah Shebal Peh, meaning that during that time that Moshe Rabbeinu was in Shamayim, they taught him the Torah Shebal Peh, which is a chedek of the Torah and the Igiyah that we need to understand in order to carry us through ad biad Goel Tzedek b'meira v'yameinu. Last but not least, what does it say? V'yikhuli Terumah, not v'yitnuli Terumah. So the answer to that is very simple. That some people, lo aleinu v'lo alechem, don't find the time to learn every day, and definitely not biyunu be'amalu betorach u'bepilpul, or just simply not capable because they're tinokot shenishbu and were never given the opportunity to sit and learn Gemara biyun the way it should be and halacha biyun. So for them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them an eitzah, v'yikhuli Terumah. They could buy themselves this power of Torah to protect themselves through supporting, through a Yisachar Zvulun, a person who sits and learns Torah, who's Zakeh Rabim, who teaches Torah. Al Yedei Zeh, they have an entrance, and only Al Yedei Zeh, they have a protection from the Yetzer Hara and an entrance to Olam Haba.